I'm here with the number seventh ranked featherweight in the world, Josh Emmett. How are you?
I'm doing good. Nice to talk with you again, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. Sure, man. Yeah, we haven't talked since before your fight of the year candidate with Shane Burgos. So I do have a couple questions. But before that, I know that you and your wife love to travel. Have you been able to go anywhere, or has COVID screwed that up just like everyone else?
Yeah, pretty much. It kind of messed up a lot of plans. And even, if we didn't have the pandemic or travel restrictions or bans, then we'd be somewhere in the world. We would have been checking out a bunch of stuff because I have the time. Like I could walk around, but I just can't, I couldn't really exercise that much or do like training. I've been going to PT a lot. So yeah, it definitely screwed up our plans. We stayed in Vegas when I did the prehab before I did surgery, and then after surgery, stayed out there for like 2 months. We lived in a hotel, and I was doing PT every day, twice a day. Even on the weekends, I was doing it once a day, and then I was doing strength and conditioning. So it was like that was a lot. It was a lot of work and effort. But then at night we got to have some fun. Or on like the weekends, like Saturday night or Sunday, we could go hang out by the pool. So we did do that for 2 months, and then other than that, we've just been kind of back chilling at home. And obviously, you're in LA, but you guys are a little more strict even than we are up here in Sacramento, but we're right there with you guys. So yeah, everything's shut down, and then all of a sudden, we can do outdoor dining. They just opened that up last week, I think, and it's like, who the hell wants to go eat outside when it's so cold? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes no sense. Where's the first place you and your wife are gonna go?
Man, I don't know. We were even talking about just doing some stuff stateside. Like we love traveling out of the country and checking out some things, but probably the first place we're gonna go when we leave the country again is we've been wanting to go to Africa and go on like a safari and go to like Tanzania and do all that type of stuff. Um, but recently we're gonna go to like Tahoe. That's not really that's not really a vacation, but we're gonna go up there in a few weeks for my little brother and his girlfriend's birthday. So we're gonna have a fun weekend. We'll just go up there and we're gonna snowmobile and just go to some nice restaurants we can actually dine in. So we made some reservations, and then for my wife's birthday in April, we're gonna go out to New York. There's this guy Evan that he specializes in like small tattoos and things like that. So we're gonna go out there and probably get some work done and try to eat. Hopefully something's open, in 4 months. But we already have reservations for that, so that should be fun.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. How is your knee recovery going? And for people that don't know, what was the exact injury?
Yeah, so in the fight against Burgos, I fought in June, so it was June 20th. In the first, I think it was like 19 seconds of the first round, I kind of like blitzed in, and he kind of like stiff armed me, so I was going back, and I tried to like just step to kind of like keep my balance, and just with that hyperextension, just that freak accident with my luck, of course. A lot of things went wrong, so I completely tore my ACL. I had like partial tears in my MCL. We all have these. It's called a Baker's cyst. We all have them behind our knee, and mine completely ruptured. And then when the ACL snapped, my femur and tibia came back and hit so hard together that I fractured my femur and tibia too. So that happened right out of the gate against a tough opponent. You know what I mean? So I just had to kind of. It took me like a minute or so just to kind of like I knew what happened right away because it hurt like hell, and then my knee was buckling, and you can see instantly when I kind of reached for it because it was so painful, and then I'm like moving around and it just keeps giving out. Then I reach down for it, and then like I said, after a minute or so, just kind of like talking to myself, and I just made the decision to you know screw it. I looked at the clock, and I think by that time we had like about 14 minutes left, and I was just like, man, just kind of do what I can, and just like I'm telling myself, you'll be happy in 14 minutes. Like I think a lot of people from the pain I was going through and just how my knee was just buckling, had no stability, no nothing. Like I think a lot of people would have quit, like just given up, and that would have been okay with, fast forward on Monday, I get an MRI and like the severity of the injuries come out. Because even before, like I just knew it because it was on the outside of my knee, and I've wrestled my whole life, played sports. I've actually torn my MCL before, and that's on the inside of your leg, and I messed up my meniscus too. But I just assumed, I know there's like LCL, PCL, all these other ligaments, but I just associate, the major ones that you hear about, ACL on the outside of your knee, and that's where the pain was, and I had no stability. So I was just saying I tore my ACL. I was right, but a lot of doctors and even like physical therapists and stuff, people were just saying there's no way you could perform with the torn ACL. You don't have to like lie. I was like, I don't have to lie. I'm like, and then I did, get it and the images, and then they're like, okay, they're saying, because you see it in football all the time, people are tearing their ACLs and they're just down for the count in like agony and pain, and they're carted off, and but now I'd be like, you got 14 more minutes left, you could finish this quarter. Yeah.
So there's two things in there. First, I have to ask. So when you tore your ACL, was there ever a thought that popped into your mind that was like, well, tonight just wasn't my night. Let's take the L. Like, I don't want to ruin my knee anymore, or was it just?
Yeah, no, I was just talking back and forth and just kind of dealing like what was going on. Then I just, in my mind, I know me personally, I would have to, if I gave up, then I'm the only one that has to decide with that. So for one, I would go home with one check, and a loss, and then I would get I would find out what happened to my knee. So that's like three bad things that I would just be pissed. Like obviously I was pissed after. I'm still like bothered by it just because it's taken a long time to heal. And I've had some issues with that and complications, but that would drive me insane. But then, I just know myself. So I was like, you'll be happy in 14 minutes. Just, do what you can do. And it's like, in my mind, I was like, it's not going to get worse, and it didn't. All that happened right then. So people were saying, oh, he's stupid for continuing to fight because he just completely shredded his knee. And that's not the case. Like that one movement did all that in one motion. And I kept asking doctors and surgeons and things like that. I was like, just because I continued to fight and move around on it, did I damage it further? And they're like, no, it all happened right then. So, but now I go home with 3 checks, a win, and, I'm still pissed about the knee, but, I'm a lot happier, being sidelined for, a year or so. Yeah, I can deal with that.
So it's crazy to me that fighters like you and Thiago Santos and countless others just shred your knee up and tear every ACL, MCL, meniscus ever and just keep fighting. I know they're two different sports, but when an NFL player goes down with a torn, like they're gone out of the game automatically. Why is it different? Like why can fighters continue to fight and NFL players just they're done?
Man, I don't know. I think maybe the money. It's like you go down, it's like you have guaranteed money and all this stuff. It's like, I'll be okay. I'll just come back. And no, I don't know. I really like, I feel like we're just kind of bred different. Even though they're obviously NFL, anyone, professional athlete, top tier athlete. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the first thing for me was like the pay, you know what I mean? Because that's the first thing going in my mind. I'm like, I'm not going home with 1 check. So at least you get a win, you get 2 checks, and then we had a fight of the night. So that was nice, a little bonus as well. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the pay grade. if I was going out there and I was making 5 million or 10 million a fight, maybe I would have just took a knee when that happened. No, still probably not.
Makes sense. So how is your knee recovery? I see that it's taken longer, and you've been posting on your Instagram that there's been some setbacks. How's it going?
Yeah, it's let's see, tomorrow's Friday, so it'll be 7 months since I had the original ACL reconstruction. Let's see, about basically the whole time, like into my initially when I first did the surgery, and then I was staying in Vegas for a few weeks, or I mean a few months. I always just had this pain, like in my like patella, my kneecap. I just had a pain anytime I would do something. But I just thought that came with the surgery, so I'm still just like pushing through everything. And then after 3 months, it's still bothering me. So the surgeon says, hey, let's just wait another month or so. And then if it's still bothering you, then we'll get an MRI, another image. And so at the 4 month marker, I feel like it's getting worse. So then I go and do a MRI, or actually before the MRI, just to try to see if I could help things out. I see my friend and doctor here in Sacramento, and he does PRP injections. So, they take out your blood and they spin it, and then he injected it into the joint and things like that to hopefully, because you don't get a lot of blood flow in those areas. So to hopefully promote more healing and circulation and stuff. We were hoping that could kind of help out. So we did that. And then, a few weeks after, I got an MRI, and then the report came back saying that, I have a fractured patella and a tear in my patella tendon, like a vertical tear, where they took the graft, because I did a patellar tendon graft for my ACL reconstruction. And so they're like, no wonder why you've been having so much pain, because I can like just dig dig deep and just like go through the pain. Like, it hurt, but like sometimes I feel like, I don't know, I have like a high pain tolerance. I've talked about it before. My mom's a redhead, and I've seen that in redheads they have a gene that they have a higher pain tolerance. So even when I like burn off like anesthesia really fast. Like, I've woken up on the like the operating table, with like, you have the tube down your throat, and I'm like gagging, trying to pull it out, and they're like freaking out. And then they, put me back to sleep. And then Novocaine, when I go to the dentist, they have to give me so much Novocaine, because they'll give it to me, and then like they'll be drilling, and I'm like making these faces, and like, do you feel that? I'm like, yeah, I feel that. And so they have to give me a lot more. So I think that's what it has to deal with. And so I'm doing this. They're like, okay, you have a broken kneecap and you have a tear in your patella tendon, so that's why everything's been hurting you. So now I figure out what I'm going to do next, and I try to do some stem cells. So maybe 5 weeks ago from today, actually, I did a stem cell procedure. And obviously in the US, things are different than going to like South America. A lot of people go to Panama, a lot of people go to Colombia, where they can use like the umbilical cords of babies and stuff like that. But here in the US, they can't do that. So there's another procedure they do. Is, for me, they can take from fat, they take from bone marrow, and for me, I didn't have a lot of fat to take from, so my option was bone marrow aspiration. So in your back, like technically your hip, it's like your SI joints. The doctor, he drills into the left and right side. It's like with a damn power tool. You got a cobalt drill. No, it's not that, but he's drilling in there, and then they like take out the bone marrow, and then they spin it. It's kind of the same thing they do with the PRP, and so it has like growth factors and different things, I guess. And so what they did this time is they went into the joint. They went into the fracture because it was so soft it wasn't healing. And bones take, they always say 6 to 8 weeks to heal. It's been 6 months in my bone. So he put the needle straight through my kneecap and put some of the stem cells in there, and then the patella tendon, since they took the graft, it's like this originally, and it's supposed to go back together. Since it's still torn, they kind of inject it in there. It's hopefully it creates like a bridge, and then it'll kind of close and heal. So I was I couldn't put any weight on it for the first week, and then the second week I was just in a brace again, and it was completely locked out. And then after that, the third week, I again started PT again, and just working on like range of motion and things like that. They've been super conservative and cautious. But now last week, I just slowly, and this week, started to do a little more things. We still don't know if it kind of did the trick yet, but that's what they're hoping. They say this takes about 6 to 8 weeks to see if it even did anything or made any improvements. But I don't know. I'm hoping it did. It's just been frustrating, the whole thing, because I see a lot of people get their surgeries and then they're bouncing around, 2 months after. Like, I should be back in practice 6 months after, almost like just practicing, but then you still can't get cleared for, I think it takes about 6 months to get cleared if everything's going perfect. And then, it still takes anywhere from 9 to 12, 13 months to fight. But yeah, I'm definitely behind schedule. But I think if this helps, my ACL will be strong. If this kind of heals the tear in the tendon and the bone, then I'll be able to, hop back into just like lifting and getting I just need to get my quads strong, basically get my legs strong, and then the knee will track right. And then I can, hopefully get back to practice or work with coaches.
I've seen that. I think you were talking to James Lynch, and you're hoping for July.
Yeah, like my well, initially, just because I feel like it happened to me, so I'm doing all the research, trying to see what can happen. I was like, man, I want to be like the AP Adrian Peterson of the UFC. He came back and he's playing football 4 months later. So I was trying to like, oh, let's do something crazy like that. But then I was just having all these problems. So from the get go, I was like, I'll take a year max, but I really wanted to try to get cleared faster and then get back to practice and fight before that year. But, I'm not going to do anything if I have a greater chance of re-injuring it or something like that, just because I know if people come back earlier, there's like a significant chance of re-injury or re-tear. And then it's like each week, it's like, it goes down drastically. So it's like, I always say, like, I like to gamble. So if it's like a 70% chance I'm going to tear it to 10, I'll wait a few more months so I don't tear it. Yeah. I don't want to gamble on that.
Right. I guess before we talk about your plans for 2021, what were your thoughts on Max Holloway's just fantastic performance?
Yeah, no, it was a great fight. It was a good fight. It's kind of like, who knows? People are saying the old Max, so this and that, but I just thought it was a good fight. I thought stylistically it would be a little, it would be challenging, and he was saying the whole thing too, like the UFC was creating this narrative of Kattar being the best boxer in the UFC. I don't believe he's the best boxer in the UFC. He has good fundamentals. He is a good boxer, but he's not the best. And I think maybe that stuck with Max, and he wanted to go out and prove a point that he was the best boxer. You know what I mean? But I think stylistically, it's just it kind of went how I thought. Max is a volume puncher. He has like so much output. The guy has a gas tank for days, and I thought he was just going to come out and just be way too much for Kattar. And he switches southpaw orthodox. He's throwing like weird kicks from different angles, and he just never lets off the gas pedal. But Kattar is a great boxer, and he has that power. And he had that. Anyone has a puncher's chance, and that's one thing. You're watching it, and Max is doing really well, but then Kattar's sitting back, and I feel like they're both winging him, and then it's like, oh, don't get caught, and then he hits him with a big one. So I think that's what in people's mind had like, oh, he could put him away at any moment. The one thing I was thinking too is Max has never been knocked out, and he's fought up weight classes. He's fought some of the best guys. He's had close fights with some of the best guys, some of the most powerful guys. So I just personally, I was like, I don't believe Kattar's going to knock Max out, but you never know. Anything could happen, right? Right. And I was saying, yeah, but it was a great fight, and Kattar's stock went up so much, and he's been doing really well. During the pandemic, he's just fighting. He was the most active featherweight, and then he's getting all these opportunities and these big main event slots and stuff. So yeah, I think like props to both of them, obviously. And it was hell of a fight, and both their stock went up like crazy.
Did you believe that Max beat Volkanovski in the rematch?
I don't know. It was just such a close fight. The first fight, I thought Volkanovski won hands down. I thought it was 4-1. Possibly he won every round. And then the second fight was so close. You know what I mean? It's like it was so close. Like especially with Max knocking Volkanovski down once or twice. But then Alexander or Volkanovski, he came back and like really put it on him, and I thought it was just super close. I thought it was 2-2. I would want to go back and watch it, you know what I mean, just to see. But I know Max won the first two, and then it was like I thought Volkanovski won the last, the fourth and fifth. I don't really remember the third round as much. So But if it went either way, like I know a lot of people obviously think Max won that, and if it went to Max, then yeah, great. You know, it was a great fight as well, super close. But I don't think people would be upset either way. I think more people were actually upset that Volkanovski got his hand raised. But
Right.
it's hard. I wouldn't want to be a judge. You know, it's like, yeah, I would not want to be in their position
No, no, hell
or
no.
a rep.
Right. Sticking in your division, what did you think about Brian Ortega's performance against the Korean Zombie?
Yeah, that was a good fight too. You know, I I don't I felt like I thought Korean Zombie was gonna have the advantage on the feet. Um, but then when like during when they were showing the episode and everything, and then they were saying that Korean Zombie just trained in Korea and he didn't train where he typically does in Arizona and all this stuff. I was like, oh man, like he just like I thought he just kind of hit mitts and did strength and did stuff like that. But I also thought I was like maybe we'll see a new Ortega just because I know he moved camps and he was working with like TJ and you know, Cub and Juan and all these guys. So I thought like he would definitely because those guys are all like a lot heavily wrestling based, but then obviously everything else has evolved as well. So I thought he's already like one of the best at jiu-jitsu in the UFC, you know. So I thought his wrestling would be better, and then I definitely knew his striking would get better because he would start to adopt some of their just their striking, you know what I mean, and their system and everything like that. So I kind of in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, I bet we're going to see a better Ortega because he's already good and he just had his camp and then he, you know, moved over there. So yeah, that was an awesome fight too. You know, I think after he dropped him, and I think Zombie even said that he never recovered. You know, he hit him hard and props to Zombie too, you know, for getting dropped and was at the first or second round and not remembering most of the fight and still didn't get finished. But yeah,
Right.
that was a great fight as well.
Yeah, it was wild. And then finally, Ortega versus Volkanovski's next. How do you see that fight going down?
I think it's just stylistically, it's I think Volkanovski is going to get the job done. You know what I mean? I think he just stays in a shell. He's compact. He has a lot of power. He'll you know start with his hands and he'll always finish kick. Or if he you know kicks, he'll always finish like jab, get his hand out there. He's always going. He always is no matter what. If he gets hit, he's always returning with a few punches. You know, 2-3 strikes always. He has great wrestling defense. The only thing is, you know, if Ortega, I don't think I doubt I could say that now. He's not going to take Volkanovski down, but you never know if he gets him up against the cage or gets him in a clinch. And, you know, he's really good with going for that, you know, that front headlock. And then if he can pull guard or get him in like a guillotine, it's like if he can, you know, wrap his hands around his neck or something, you never know, you know, but I do see Volkanovski winning and being a champ for a while. But you never know in a fight, man. That's why I always hate predicting fights because like I could argue both ways how I could argue how Ortega is going to win. I could argue how Volkanovski is going to win, and we'll see though. You know, once the bell rings, I think we'll know within a kind of a few minutes or a round or so like how it's going to go. But it's yeah, that's always difficult to play sides.
Right. You've made it know that your next fight is going to be someone in front of you, rightfully so. I mean, you earned it. Does a name like Korean Zombie interest you?
Yeah, possibly like whoever is ranked in front of me, and it's like I just want to get closer. You know what I mean? I want to get closer to the title. I feel like, you know, I got in the sport because for one, I wanted to make it to the UFC and I want to be a world champion. And I'm still gunning for that. And I'm close. I was so close before. And then, you know, a few years later, you know, I'm making my way back. So I do believe especially depending on who I fight when I do return with a big win, I feel like I'm one win away for fighting for the title. So that's really what I want to do. But I see like every time after people fight, and even though if they're just in the division, then everyone's like, oh, he needs to fight Josh. And I'm like, no, that makes no sense. I'm always the one that that people want to see me fight. If some guy wins and he's ranked 30th and he's moving up to 25, he needs to fight Josh next. I'm like, no, that makes no damn sense. Like, unless they tell me you fight this guy and you'll get a title shot with a win, then I'll fight anyone. I'll go to welterweight and give that a shot.
Yeah, no, I saw some people matching you up with like Arnold Allen and Ryan Hall. It's just like
every time, like, and they're good fighters, and maybe later on, if they continue to win and then beat someone in front of me and they're ranked in front of me, then yeah, if it's going to get me there, of course, like, I'll fight anyone. I've never said no to a fight, but it's like, but some of that, it just, when I see that, I'm like, God, like, leave it alone. Like, why can't I fight the guy that's in front of me? Why always got to fight back? I'm never going to go anywhere.
right. Yeah, no, for sure. So finally, what do you want for the rest of your 2021 to look like? Assuming hopefully you come back in July, August. Do you want to fight twice? You only want to fight once?
Yeah, no, I've always wanted to stay as active as possible. Like, that's the thing that's so frustrating about the knee injury, because it's like, okay, I fought, I was sidelined for another year. I fought Burgos. I feel like I always get a big win, have momentum, and then I'm sidelined for a while. So it's like, I wanted to, win that fight, and then I want to just continue to fight and take advantage of the the pandemic and try to make some money and be like, it was just be like all the guys that fought 4 or 5 times in a year and got wins and made a lot of cash. Like Bobby Green, we fought on the same card, and then he turned around, he fought 5 times and he went 4-1, in the year. I'm just thinking about the money he made, and just all the guys, I mean, that were doing that. So I wanted to do that. But yeah, for 2021, I want, first and foremost, just focusing on my recovery and getting my knee back to normal, or just to be as strong as it was before I injured it. And then, I want to come back sometime in the summer, hopefully. And then, get a huge win. And then after that, just decide what's next. You know what I mean? Like, if there's something lucrative or something like that, then I'll fight again at the end of the year. And it would be nice to get 2 fights, in a perfect situation. It would be get a huge win, fight for the title at the end of the year, become the UFC featherweight champion of the world. 2021 would be an awesome year.
For sure. Well, I can't wait, and I'm sure every MMA fan on the planet can't wait for your return, Josh. If you want to plug your social media and plug your sponsors, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm just everywhere on like Twitter and Instagram. It's just Josh Emmett UFC, a Facebook page, and then if anyone wants any merchandise, or they can see all my sponsors: Trifecta, Sky Naturals, Hot Suit. They can go to joshemmett.com, and everything's on there.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you so much for talking with me, and I hope your recovery goes as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
And we'll talk soon.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. You have a good one, man.
Boom.